Greetings, Otaku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you all yet again another Sons of Anarchy episode review right here on Otaku Assemble! Weekly, as always, I'm here to bring you the latest in this week's Sons of Anarchy episode review. And this is my review of Season 5, Episode 9, entitled Andare Pescare. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I think that's Spanish. Anywho, so, general thoughts on this week's episode. I liked it, especially since this is the episode that wraps up the home invasion storyline. This is the episode where the conflict with Frankie was finally resolved, and so, with Frankie's death, this is pretty much wrapping up that whole home invasion arc. So, I like that. But another thing about this week's episode that I really liked is that there were a lot of interesting things that were brought to the forefront in this week's episode, and I'll discuss those in a bit more detail. The first of which is the treatment of Gemma in this week's episode. And I gotta say, for all my problems with Gemma throughout this entire season, for all my problems with that character as a whole, I liked Gemma in this week's episode. I really, really liked her. First and foremost, Katie Seagal looked really good in this week's episode. I mean, mainly because now Gemma is clean. You know, she went cold turkey in last week's episode, so she's real cleaned up in this week's episode, and she looked damn good. Mama looked good. But also, I had never considered this before, mainly because the whole drug thing. That was a problem that was slowly building up, but it wasn't until last week's episode where that shit, finally came to a head. But here's the thing. What they did with Gemma and Nero in this week's episode, I really liked, and I never considered it, like I said, because the whole drug thing didn't become a huge problem until like the last 2 episodes. But this is what I'm talking about. This week's episode introduced the idea that instead of what I thought Gemma and Nero's relationship was going to be, remember what I said about their relationship early on, where all of Gemma's issues could bleed over onto Nero? Instead, this week's episode introduced the idea of that relationship with Nero getting Gemma out of the shit. This idea that the relationship with Nero is healthy. And because it's healthy, that is going to motivate Gemma to stay clean. I like that idea, that positive reinforcement type thing. You see what I'm saying? And I never considered that before this week's episode. And I like that idea. You see what I'm saying? Really good, really strong, really well done. My only question was it introduced too late in the season? And the only reason why I bring that question up is because we don't know how long Nero's going to stick around. But then again, maybe we saw this as late in the season that we did, because remember, Gemma made a choice in this week's episode. She pretty much chose to put her relationship with Nero on the side until she can do this thing with Clay and get back with her grandkids. So the timing of this, I don't know. Like I said, it's contingent on so many things. How long is Nero going to stay around in the series? How long will it take for Gemma to, do the thing with Clay? The possibility of, is she going to get away with that? Because, like I said in last week's review, I don't think Jack's plan with Gemma, working Clay that way, I don't think that's going to turn out as well as they think. I see the potential for some really damaging repercussions. You see what I'm saying? I don't think Clay is going to be that naive to just fall into that shit. And even if they do manage to get what they want out of Clay, he's going to retaliate. So, like I said, it's a sticky situation. Really sticky situation. But like I said, that's pretty much wrapping up my thoughts on Gemma, because I like that stuff with Gemma and Nero in this week's episode. I like that. That was good stuff. The second thing, probably the most compelling thing for me in this week's episode, Tara and her scenes with Otto. Man, that last scene with Otto. You want to talk about some human shit? Man, I mean, and you know, and it's so weird because I was watching these scenes through my fingers because I thought that whole thing was going to turn out bad. But no. And I don't know, maybe that's just credit to Otto's character. I mean, Otto has every right to be vengeful. He has every right to be vindictive. I mean, he's completely justified in what he did in season 4 with the whole Rico case, and he has every reason to. And yet, Tara was able to reach him. She was able to connect to him on a human level. And I don't know, like I said, maybe that's just credit to Otto's character, that he's not two-dimensional, that he's not stereotypical, that he can't just be summed up in a sentence. He has layers, and we see that. Really strong stuff. Really strong stuff. And to be honest, the final scene with Tara in this week's episode, the whole bathroom scene. At first I was kind of weirded out, but now that I think about it, maybe that scene is just solidifying the fact that Tara can relate to Otto, that she gets him, she understands it. And maybe that's what that scene was about. I'm more inclined to believe that's what that scene was about. That she gets Otto. Then again, I am not ignoring the possibility of something else. I won't say what that other thing is because I don't have enough evidence on it yet. But I'm keeping it back here, and if it comes out, I'll let you guys know. I'm not calling it, mind you, I'm not calling it, but I'm not ignoring it either. Alright, and pretty much my final notes on this week's episode is I'm just gonna mention the thing with Juice, because I think I'm not really sure how to call the whole thing with Juice yet. I don't know if that's gonna happen next week. I don't know if that's going to be dragged out until the end of the season. I don't know. But I don't think that that's going to be the only thing left in this season. You see what I'm saying? I get a feeling that something else is going to come about, or there's going to be some type of other conflict. I don't think the thing with Juice is going to be, that dominant. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know. Well, okay, I can't really say that. Because part of me thinks that Jax isn't going to share that with the rest of the club. But then again, who knows? Maybe Jax needs that constituency amongst the rest of the table so that whatever they decide to do with Juice, he has support. So maybe that's what it is. Okay, that's plausible. I could see that happening. I could definitely see why Jax wouldn't want to go after Juice by himself, or why he wouldn't want to keep it, very small. And then, of course, we saw in the preview that the club does know. So, okay, all right. But then again, like I said, once the club finds out, okay, is that going to be one episode? Is that going to be until the end of the season? Who knows? And if it does get wrapped up in next week's episode, okay, then what's going to be the big thing to wrap this whole thing up? Is it going to be Jax finally confronting Clay? Is it going to be the thing with Gemma Jax is playing with Gemma, getting that information from Clay. Maybe Clay finds out. Maybe Gemma succeeds, and that's what Jax uses to confront Clay. Where is Roosevelt going to fit into this? Pope, where is he going to fall in line with this? What is Nero going to do? Is Nero going to confront Jax? Because I'm pretty sure he knows. I'm pretty sure that Gemma told Nero about Jax's plan. So is he going to confront Jax about this? All of that is up in the air at this point. So it's just a matter of seeing what it is that's going to steer this season home. We'll just have to stay tuned and find that out. But that's going to do it for my review for this week's Sons of Anarchy review. I want to thank you all for joining me again this week, and in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this week's episode, and of course, your predictions on how this season's going to wrap up. So, what to keep an eye out for later this week. Arrow review tomorrow night. I am going to do my discussion of the week probably on, if not on Friday, definitely by Saturday. Also, though, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the podcast again. The first podcast got pretty good reception, so and I got a topic. It's just a matter of getting people, on Skype to do the podcast. But I do got a good topic. I think it'll be a good one to talk about. And so pretty much at this point, I think for the time being, if the podcast does do well, that's going to take the place of Comic Book Hollywood. I'm not completely scrapping Comic Book Hollywood, but I am going to put that segment on hiatus for a bit, if the podcast is doing well enough. And with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I'm signing off. Until next time, peace.